In this video, Alan will take us through improving high-volume UnForm printing with CirrusPrint.
For users that have UnForm high volume installations, and they've got UnForm, and when you have ERPs running on different machines, they can run into bandwidth issues. When your ERP dumps hundreds and hundreds of print jobs onto the UnForm client, that's a challenge for it. And so we've got some customers now that are utilizing CirrusPrint. They're actually using that 2 free device license to accomplish this particular task. What we've got is, in this example, we've got a special output device. This one is actually a command line that gets run. It's not an actual device. It's actually running a command line out at the remote location. In this case, my PC. I've got an UnForm server on my PC, and we're telling CirrusPrint that when you send a file over here, we're actually going to run the UnForm client. You can see we're using some tags here. The curly brace file, curly brace, represents the runtime work file that CirrusPrint client is using. We're doing an output to a Windows printer named for the source ID, and the source ID is the input source ID. We can trap for errors. We're telling it to go to the local host server, and we're using a flag async RPQ. Not everyone knows about this one, but basically that's a file system way to submit files into UnForm. Never goes through the socket, so we can submit things with a low overhead file transport as long as the client's running on the same machine as the UnForm server. I've got an input source. Now this one is named test printer, and that's actually kind of key. Remember that source ID was part of the printer name that I was specifying in that command line. So that test printer is matched up with this printer name right here. So this input source, it resides on the server, not at a remote location. It's just a /tmp, this is a Linux machine, UF Allen PC test printer. So any file that lands there is going to get pushed over to that UnForm command line, which basically stuffs things into a folder on the UnForm server so that it can start pacing out the jobs to print. So let's go into our demo here. I've got a screen open here, a PuTTY terminal to the machine where CirrusPrint is. So this is our demo.cirrusprint.com machine. I'm in a place where I've got some sample files. And you can see I've got a set of sample files. These are all text files. So let me go ahead and CP to temp UF-Allen PC test printer. UF-Allen PC test, oops. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to copy those files over. Let me go ahead and bring up my RPQ folder again, so you can see these things land. So that just copied, I think this is 29 files, and there they all landed in RPQ. Notice there were 58 items when they first landed. That's because our async mechanism actually has 2 files for each job. So those will go on through. But let's see what happens when we run an even bigger job through. By the way, these are starting to land in the print queue already. I've got a script that's going to do a lot more. Pretty simple little script. I basically have a loop with going through 10 times, looking at those same SMP TXT files. Now in this case, I'm being a little bit safer here. I'm going to make a temporary copy so that I can then do a rename. That's the MV command in Linux, is a rename. So basically all those SMP files, I am moving a temporary copy over to the test printer directory. This logic right here just makes sure those file names are unique when they get copied. Also wanted to point out something real quick. I've set, UMask is what I want. I've set my UMask to 0 on Linux. That just ensures that when files get created by me, they have full permissions to other users. And the CirrusPrint server is running as one of those other users. So I want to make sure that it has full control, the ability to both read and remove those files. So if I run this script now, clear this out here. I'm going to go ahead and run this script. So that sent 290 files over. And they're going to start, let's say I'm working on it here. They're going to start filling up this RPQ directory. Meanwhile, UnForm is going to start processing the jobs and they will start showing up. And I've run this test half a dozen times the last couple of days, and every time I got 290 print jobs over in the print queue here. So that's an example of how you can use CirrusPrint in an UnForm environment where you're maybe struggling with some really high volume batch printing, and maybe you got 500 jobs at a time or 1,000 jobs at a time. CirrusPrint's just a little bit better than UnForm at getting all those over to the UnForm server.
To learn more about CirrusPrint and how to get 2 free licenses, contact sales by email, sales@synergeticdata.com, or phone 800-446-7374.